wasn't out there.
He's standing there like what's the president of Korea? You know how they be watching them from standing up from they
Yeah.
have them like in a little balcony area, and they be watching them, and the
The
military
fall
be
stand there
saluting them.
saluting. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Be saluting them as they driving by.
Well, YouTube episode 158. What we're gonna get into or talk about today?
Mm, let's see. Look, they still fighting over there in Israel and Iran. That ain't gonna let up. Let's see. What are we gonna talk about? Mika ain't on here, is she? She be wanting to talk about the Diddy.
Uh-huh.
I
Oh,
heard
did
that
y'all hear? Huh?
he called one of his girls. What was his nickname? Shoot. Just listen to that.
One of the
Who's on
girls, I
this?
think. Huh?
One of the girls. One of his old girls. It wasn't Cassie, it was another one.
Mm.
Said how it was a recording, like they had a good time, and he said he gonna call her his can't remember the name. I'll be right back with it.
Crazy. But Ezel, did you see where that one girl that was on the stand all them days? And she said that sometimes she would surprise him with those freak offs just to lure him away from going to be with other women or to keep him to herself.
Well, when's the
Why you?
trial supposed to
What
end?
was that?
I
What was
don't
the
know.
nickname that he had for the girl?
What week is it?
For that girl?
I don't.
Yeah.
Hey, Jackson,
Hi everyone.
where you been?
Here.
Well, you've been missing in action. What you been doing this summer?
So
You been going to camp?
no, me and my daddy actually did some fireworks.
You
And
did.
yeah, we did two at the same time. And we throw them in the bank and the one boom.
It did.
Then in the bank.
I be forgetting about this thing. Gotta put this on my clock. Set an alarm.
But yeah, she was surprising him. Yeah, I can't find the article no more that had what she was saying. Let me see.
Oh, he told her he was gonna call her his crack pipe.
Oh, Lord.
I
Is this the one that was on the stand or is she still on the stand?
don't know. I just heard it on the radio.
Oh, Lord. Crack pipe. Mm. Let me see.
Guess
Yeah,
she
I
was
found it.
addictive. She was addictive.
Mm. That's crazy. She said she admitted to telling him and he wouldn't get to do as he pleased with her if he decided to stay with young Miami on vacation. And this was part of the transcript. Yep. So I don't know either when it's supposed to be over. And then it says she's been testifying anonymously in his ongoing trial, returned to the stand on Wednesday, where she said she used the freak offs to have her way and to coerce him not to go off with other women.
But during the freak offs, so he had other men with her and he just sat and watched them. That's what she wanted. Ain't that what he did?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kanye,
Yep.
at the trial.
Huh?
Kanye's there.
You think that was planned?
What?
Do you think that was planned?
I don't know.
Would you want him at your trial?
I mean, he just showing up for support. What's wrong with that?
That was just the question. I said, would you want Kanye there to support you with his crazy antics that he been doing?
It's got to be. We know Patterson. She never got what they need to. You won't get killed. It's cybersecurity deal with virus.
It had to be planned for them to approve. I'm pretty sure his family, the sons and stuff, knew he was gonna come. So yeah.
We got the riots in LA,
Mm.
war over there in Iran.
Did y'all hear about that guy the only survivor of the Indian airplane crash?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's sad.
It really is.
He gonna be traumatized forever.
Yeah, his brother was on that flight too.
Did y'all
And
see the picture of the family of
yes,
five? It was the parents and the
and
three
then they
kids.
three
They were
kids.
taking a selfie before they took off.
Yeah, because they were going to start over somewhere. I can't remember. Was it here? They were going
I
somewhere. They
can't
were leaving the
remember, but
country to
yeah, they
start
were
over.
all turning around looking at the camera, and it was like they were either like boarding and hadn't taken off yet, or they was getting ready to take off.
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
picture. That's what made me eventually see that the interview that they did of the sole survivor, and they said that his brother was on the same flight, just a couple seats, from him, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
died.
That's sad.
I know.
Mm-hmm. I still wonder what caused it.
Something was wrong because he said that
He
he
said
said,
the lights was flickering.
yeah, he said it felt weird though. Like it felt like they were just like at a standstill. And then I think he said they started feeling like it was going up, but it wasn't, going up. I think it couldn't take off properly. It hit a building.
He said, yep, the lights
Yeah.
was flickering, and then he said all of a sudden it kind of looked green.
It's crazy to hear from like somebody that survives it and knowing that no one else did. Because so many times planes crash and you're like there are no survivors, and you kind of be wondering like what really happened, what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
When you got that one person like that's just a miracle though. Like he saw a light and jumped out. Like damn, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Jumped out of
that's
the
sad.
airplane while it was crashing and still survived.
Mm-hmm.
That's like some Final Destination type stuff.
For
Mm-hmm.
real.
Yep, it does.
I think DJT definitely was the cause of that.
Oh my god.
Of what the fuck?
Oh my god.
Yeah, you about to pack up and move, ain't you?
Right, she ready. Lil Jackson got his suitcase ready too. Y'all about to go.
Oh, we gonna have to ask Michael about this. It says authorities in Virginia arrested a 21-year-old man. They said intentionally drove an SUV through the crowd at the town's No King's Day event.
Dang.
Y'all heard
And
about the guy that was going around and unaliving or attempting to unalive those
no,
the Democrats?
hmm I think one couple got unalived, and then
Yeah,
the
and
other
another couple
couple
they're recovering.
survived. Yeah, and then the woman, she jumped in front of her daughter to kind of save her.
Oh wow.
Hmm
There's too much going on. And then this man he had a security company dressed up like a police officer with a police car. Well, they
Mm-mm.
use police, the same models as the police, but police lights and everything. Like I thought that was illegal to have like the same lights as police.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. I don't know why I thought they were going to be Republicans. I thought somebody had lost it with, all the with all the stuff they allow him to do. I thought somebody lost it, but to find out they Democrats, it's like, oh wow.
Y'all listen to this. This says a flight attendant impersonator scammed tickets for more than 120 flights.
People is losing it.
It says a 35-year-old man was convicted last week of scoring free airline flights by posing as a flight attendant dozens of times since 2018.
He traveling everywhere. I'm gonna have to get on that.
Yeah, this was on Spirit. No,
Like
it says
it sounds about right.
of
They don't
those
know.
flights, 34 were on Spirit.
That's
It
crazy.
says prosecutor said he claimed to work for 7 airlines, providing about 30 badge numbers and dates of hires.
Dang.
He just owned a plane like he a flight attendant.
He dedicated. He got to travel. You want to see the world? You can't afford it.
But
Pretend
I'm
like you're
like,
a
how
flight
did they
attendant.
not know you not on the flight crew?
That's scary though, because just imagine like anybody, especially with the problems that we've had previously with people, hijacking planes. Like,
Yeah.
how do y'all not know that this man is not
And then
really a
I'm
part of the
like,
crew?
you going through the flight attendants go through TSA too, don't they?
They should have to. They should have everything. Everybody should need to be checked, especially now. People losing their minds.
Mm, mm, mm.
That's funny though. Like what?
He getting up, going to work every day, just sightseeing
Travel.
the states and the
Yeah,
countries.
yeah. What time we
Mm.
got to be
Free
back? Okay.
free travel.
Right.
Before he travel, he's seeing the world.
Right. He determined. Well,
I'm
not on
like,
Spirit.
by that time, they needed to just hire him.
Right. He knows
He
how to
getting up, going to
do.
work, getting on
I
like,
wonder if he was like attending people, like bringing in,
but then
bringing them peanuts and stuff.
he's sitting up there doing the emergency stuff. I'm like,
Right.
and
Oh my
people
God.
watching him
Yeah, that's
would,
dangerous, but that's
wouldn't
funny.
know the first thing to do if something happened on that plane. That is
Oh,
crazy. Wow, more than 120 flights.
that's
Dang.
scary though, because that could have been somebody really crazy, on all them flights and nobody knew. That's crazy.
Hmm
All the security you go through. So now you just got to dress up like you're a flight attendant and you get in. No,
hmm
I hope they don't get nobody ideas.
That's crazy.
I'm sure it has given people ideas.
Yeah, they probably like, oh yeah, that's how we could do it. We don't even have
And
to.
the only reason why they caught him was because the secured flights that he booked as an employee started piling up. And then so the airline took notice to it.
Mm.
They said it was large enough for the airline to take notice.
One, he shouldn't get away with one though. You got to verify that people are on the plane are like they took notice after how many times?
Yep.
It could have been how many men down, how many flights, hijacked. If he were really, crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy and scary. Mika, you think Diddy gonna get off?
I don't know. I don't think he should. I haven't been following it though. But he gonna get something. I don't know if they're making a thing of the whole racketeering thing or not. Criminal organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I had said.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I need to catch up on it though, because I haven't paid attention since like the first week. But I did see something say Kanye was there today. I'm like, Jesus. Well, at least he got one person supporting him, because nobody supports him in the music industry. Nobody.
Mhm.
Logistical issue. So the government stood up and they were like, okay, we were informed, and AUSA Maureen Comey is making this argument. She says that one of her colleagues had messaged her saying that she
FX's
saw
Emmy Award-winning series The
during the
Bear
cross-examination of both
returns
Andre Lamont
Is
Combs
there you playing two videos?
that Mr. Combs was
not
nodding
only to
during the
survive, but also
cross-examination.
take
And
the
then
Bear
Brian
to the
Steele, who
next
sits
level.
normally to
FX's The
Diddy's
Bear,
left,
all episodes
stands up and is like, you know what, Judge,
Can
June 25th.
Mr.
y'all
Combs
hear
did
these
nothing.
videos?
Yeah,
Yeah.
stop it.
Where I did kind of see him nodding along. So
Okay, good.
the prosecution's office wasn't wrong here, but then the judge was kind of like, well, it's impossible to police every single reaction that the defendant is having because he is human, because, he can't just sit there and watch his demeanor and mannerisms at every single point during the trial. There's a lot of stuff going to be happening. So he didn't give such a harsh instruction like he did the other week, but I think if it becomes kind of more of an issue, then the judge will really kind of have to take this matter just a little bit more seriously.
So that witness leaves the stand, and then we get to the testimony of somebody we were waiting for, Jonathan Perez, Sean Combs, I would say former assistant. He was basically his assistant, I learned, right up until the point Sean Combs was arrested. This gentleman was granted immunity to testify. What did we learn about how he started and what his job duties were?
Is
Yeah,
that
so how
supposed to be
he
baby?
started at the end of 2021 working for Diddy. So originally it was for Combs Enterprises. Now the company is called Combs Global, and he worked as an assistant. And I think what was an interesting point is the other witnesses have testified they call Sean Combs Puff or Diddy or something like that, PD. But for Jonathan Perez, he calls him Mr. Combs or Mr. C, making it just a little bit formal. But as far as just in his entire employment with Sean Combs, it was from December of 2021 up until his arrest around the time frame of September of 2024. He was explaining that Christina Quorum was actually the one to reach out to Jonathan because he had interviewed for this particular position years prior, but then he ended up coming back for the same role after KK had reached out to him. So he did a 1-week trial period and then he took on the job. And so his responsibilities were kind of similar to other assistants' responsibilities. He was to do research. He had to bring Sean Combs wherever he needed to be. He worked close with the house manager. He worked at both homes, both in Los Angeles and Miami. And then he kind of led us into his salary. And he made a lot of money as an assistant to Diddy. He made $85,000 at the beginning of his employment. And then towards the end, he made he made six figures. He made $100,000 towards the end. And so as far as just what we learned and kind of the initial points of his testimony is that he also kind of helped set up what he calls King Nights. So as far as everyone is concerned, King Nights, hotel nights, nights of debauchery or debauchery nights, freak offs, they're all one and the same. They just go by just different names. But according to Jonathan, he knew them as King Nights. And so he says that he was aware of King Nights. He knew that it was Mr. Combs going to a hotel for private time with a female. He knew Jane was involved in King Nights with Diddy. Christina Quorum would tell Jonathan about the King Nights. He would pack materials for 12 to 24 hours for Diddy to be away either at a hotel or over at another guest home, as he called it. And the guests were normally the women Diddy was kind of having this alone time with during these nights. But he would also provide materials such as liquor and music, lights, food, clothes, condoms, lubricants, honey, and then the lights too, such as the lights that were used.
What was I using honey on? That seemed like that would be a little bit too sticky. I'm for real. Y'all ever had honey on anything? That's where everybody got
I
waxed.
don't like
Lord.
honey.
Oh,
Honey's only
y'all
good
let
when
us know
I
in the
like
comments.
the what's the syrup? The real sweet syrup that we used to eat back in the day.
maple syrup.
No, was it Griffin's?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds about
that's
Mhm.
her. So I
Mhm.
wasn't really even honey. You know how some people eat honey on their biscuits and stuff. I never really ate honey like that.
right. Yes, very sticky. Like, let's pray everybody got waxed, because what the hell?
Mhm.
That would be crazy.
Maybe he put honey on the woman's lady part, her nipples or something, and licked it off.
Yeah, it gotta be nipples, or she gotta be waxed. Otherwise, you don't have a hell of a time in the shower.
Let's continue.
I'm just saying.
is to record, and they were specific red lights. And so the King nights, for the most part, took place in a hotel around the time that Jonathan was kind of helping setting them up. And then sometimes, as far as even who would book these hotels, because we heard a lot of testimony that either Jane would book hotels, but also he kind of let us into the travel agent would book hotels too, and that travel agent Jessica Ruiz. And so again, they took place at hotels or at guest homes. Jonathan would set up King nights, according to him, around 5 different times during his employment. And he said that was because he normally worked during the day, and that's why he didn't set up more, as opposed to when these kind of hotel night King nights would happen, and that would be mainly at night. And so he recalled just that he would also go to the sex stores, and he would get items too, like adult outfits and shoes and high heels. We saw another exhibit photo of the boxes of Astroglide that he would either purchase on the company card, or he would get cash from security. And then he also said that he would help clean up these King nights afterwards, where there were lots of sheets and towels and oils everywhere. He said anything that they brought that they would bring back with them. And then again,
I'm just wondering, how is this going to factor into racketeering? Because it seems like the only thing they've been
That was
talking
what
about
I
since
was
it started is these
talking
free
to.
calls.
That's what I was talking to Ezel about the other day. I'm like, I'm sure he did wrong. I'm
I
sure he
mean, right.
abused women, but I'm like, how are you gonna charge somebody for being a freak?
I mean, this is the only thing they're talking about. I haven't heard any other
Chill
than
for having honey and
right.
what did they say?
Astroglide, girl.
Astroglide,
Astroglide. Like, what the
Astroglide,
hell? Lord.
and you can't charge nobody for messing up sheets. So I'm like, they ain't. I don't know. Maybe it's to come. I'm just saying
I
they
don't
ain't
know.
showing no RICO, no big
Right. I don't.
organized crime
It's just
charges.
people that the only thing I can see, people that work for him are booking flights for people to come in and like, but all these people are consenting to this. Like,
Yeah,
that's crazy. People fly people
yeah.
out all the time to have many freak offs, and nobody says anything. But every day, I bet it's 1,000 people right now on a plane getting ready to go to meet somebody that done flew them out and about to have a mini freak out. That's not
Mm-hmm.
like a Rico. Like
That's
it's
why, and it's not trafficking either. These are
right,
grown people getting on these planes and traveling to go to a
right,
hotel room, whether it's hotel night, king's night, freak off night, honey
right.
night, or whatever the night is. They that no,
I can
that
see
is
like
not that's not a charge to me.
that's crazy.
I'm
Yeah, it is
sorry.
crazy. So like that's all they've been talking about. This is the same stuff they was talking about the
That's
last
what.
time I watched.
That's why I'm like, they ain't putting nobody on the stand that may be a young age that he flew them from this state to this state, or they were held captive.
Or it was
They
done
ain't putting up. It's
against
all
their
about his
will.
sex. It's all about his sex life and the stuff that they were doing.
Yeah.
That's not a crime.
Mm-mm.
What he gonna get
that he would
charged
kind of
with for
help as
being
far as
freaky?
recovery, as far as bringing the people who would
Yeah.
even do the
Yeah.
IV drips at the end. And he said that these IV drips were specifically because the guests, as well as the guests and Mr. Combs, would need them to kind of be put to sleep afterwards. So it was kind of interesting as far as his role, because I think before the defense was trying to say that maybe some of these assistants didn't know what was really going on during these hotel nights, but according to Jonathan, or King nights too, but according to Jonathan, it seemed like I think a lot of people were in the know of what was happening in this private time.
And if the jury accepts these are episodes of sex trafficking, coerced sexual events, then it goes into racketeering. So you have his staff, you have others who are coordinating and trying to set this up. Sex trafficking, by the way, is one of the underlying crimes of racketeering. So it's really important to get into that. And also, by the way, prostitution, right? Transportation to engage in prostitution is a separate crime. And then also prostitution, I believe, is also one of the other underlying crimes. Now, I know there was a lot of conversation about Jonathan's and Christina Coram. Weren't there a series of audio recordings that were played? And what did we learn exactly about these? I mean, why were these sessions actually recorded? And what did you learn about the conversations between Christina Coram and Jonathan?
Yeah, well, I had to take a little bit of a step back just to give the full context of why this recording even happened in the first place. And that was that the staffers at Diddy's home saw a sexually explicit video of Jane with another man, but they also noticed that Diddy was in this particular recording too, because this video clip, or this sexually explicit video, was found on an iPad that was used mainly by the staff. And so the videographer, Brandon, showed this video to Jonathan, and Jonathan said that he ended up seeing a portion of this video, again, that being on the staff iPad. He saw that Diddy was in the background. He didn't see who the other man was in the video, video, that being the other man outside of Diddy, but he just knew that it was a black man and that Jane was also seen in this video too. And so John told Diddy about the video, but he also told Christina Coram. However, he told Diddy first. And so he said Diddy's reaction to people kind of knowing about this particular video found on the staff iPad was that Diddy was surprised about this, but then there were no more conversations between Jonathan and Diddy about this sexually explicit video. However, Christina Coram told Jonathan, okay, in the future, you just bring this to me and then I'll bring it to PD or Diddy or Sean Combs. And so Jonathan ended up speaking with Christina Coram 6 months later after revealing to them that he saw kind of a portion of the sexually explicit video because Christina Coram wanted to reiterate or get Jonathan to reiterate his story because she got a call about the video from someone outside of their organization. And so Jonathan didn't know he was being recorded around this time, and we did hear the audio recording. It was played in court. It was from January 30th of 2023, and the jury was able to follow along with transcriptions that were shown in front of their little exhibit screens. And so what we did learn about this audio recording is that Christina Coram says, I don't know how to bring this up. Bring that Bosu ball over here. You can sit on it so you're not standing. But she says it was brought to my attention last night and tell me step by step what happened. An outside person brought this information up to me. Did you talk to anybody? And so Jonathan is saying, I didn't talk to anybody about the sexually explicit video. And Christina Coram is like, okay, well, were you inside the house when this was being discussed? And Jonathan is like, okay, well, Brandon was there. And he was saying that there was something on this iPad. Christina Coram is like, okay, well, who all was in the house? We can check the cameras inside the house. And then Jonathan is saying, okay, I was just trying to save him being Diddy, as far as telling him ahead of time that he saw this sexually explicit video, just so that way if Diddy wanted to delete this video, he could delete this video. And so Jonathan said that he didn't talk to anybody else about the sexually explicit video outside of the conversations that were had between everyone. And so he did say that Brendan wanted to tell Rob about it, but the advice was to just initially delete the video. But then Jonathan said, let's not delete this video in case something were to happen. It's kind of similar to what he had been testifying to even today. And so Diddy initially wanted to launch an investigation into how this particular sexually explicit video got onto the iPad that is mainly used by the staff. But Jonathan believed that the video was recorded on the iPad. And then Christina Coram asked if Brandon might have told other people. John said Brandon was freaking out about it, kind of insinuating that he didn't tell other people because he was so nervous about it. And Christina Coram is like, okay, well, was anyone else there? Were the housekeepers there? Was the chef there? And one thing Jonathan did admit while on the stand is that he didn't relay to Christina Coram that Chef K was actually inside the theater when this was being talked about. He didn't tell Christina Coram this because he said he didn't want to make it this big thing. And so he said that no follow-up conversations were had with Christina Coram about the sexually explicit video that the staffer saw. But Fahim, who is Diddy's driver and security guard, brought it up to him. And then Jonathan said that he told the exact same story that he testified to. And even that was recorded by Christina Coram. He relayed that same information to Fahim too.
Yeah, their knowledge of whatever was going on with Jane is really important, and how they managed that information is very important. Now, he also testified about drugs and money. So if we're talking about a criminal enterprise and we're talking about sex trafficking, by the way, prosecutors allege that Combs used drugs to keep victims compliant, but drug trafficking is also one of the underlying crimes of this alleged racketeering criminal enterprise. What did he say? What did he testify to about drugs and money?
Yeah, well, he testified a lot to both drugs and money. And
What y'all think?
Drug trafficking.
All that she said a while ago, I want to hear the drugs and the trafficking and all that. All that about a tape. People, that ain't a crime either. It's just an explicit tape out there.
I don't think this is deemed as drug trafficking. They're not trafficking drugs to distribute to other people. He just buying drugs for the party.
And they all sniff and partake at the party.
It's like going to a big party and I just got all the weed. Like, how's that trafficking?
Yeah. I don't got all the weed and the pink powder and stuff.
Wouldn't trafficking be like you're picking it up from somebody so you could take to distribute amongst, your city or state or whatever? Like that's trafficking. Me
going to go doing it for recreational use.
For the party, right? Me, if I go buy some weed and I get pulled over when I come on my way back home, how the fuck is that drug trafficking? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not.
They'll probably say trafficking if it's over a certain amount. And the value of it or whatever. That's how people get hung up with those charges.
Are those drugs already illegal?
Yeah. But that's just like pulling over a crackhead. You can't charge them for having crack. I mean, you can't charge them for trafficking because they're going to go pick up the crack for them and everybody at the crack house. Like he not selling it to nobody.
Let's see what they say.
we saw an exhibit photo, because again, I have to emphasize that we're finally able to see these exhibit photos once again, and that was of Diddy's Gucci pouch, which carried both drugs and carried money. And so as far as the drugs that would normally be inside this particular pouch, it included things like Adderall and ketamine, Molly and cocaine, and said that he was the one, he being Jonathan, had to make sure that Diddy's Gucci pouch was inside Diddy's backpack for these king nights or hotel nights, essentially these freak-offs. And so then we see text exhibits from Jonathan and Rob, who is another staffer, from July 31st of 2022, where Rob is saying, yo, will you locate his Gucci pouch and his backpack? Jonathan responds, yes, I zipped it up, no residue, and I didn't steal one Addy. And that Addy is an address, it's Adderall. And then we see another text message from October 10th of 2022, where Jonathan is saying, hi, I just found items in the Balenciaga pouch that should be in the Gucci pouch. And then Joey, who's also another staffer, responds with this confused face emoji. And then Jonathan is talking about how he means cocaine as far as the residue is concerned. And then Joey says, okay, well, he probably needs it at PT, that being physical therapy. And I think it was just a joke between Joey and Jonathan. And so as far as just other drugs that Jonathan purchased on behalf of Diddy, he said that Diddy or even other assistants would ask Jonathan to purchase or grab drugs for Sean Combs, such as Xanax that he bought, cocaine that he bought, and then Molly that he also purchased for Diddy. And he said that he would get them from presumably drug dealers that were named Baby Girl and another one named Guido, who Jane had even recalled when she was testifying too. And so as far as where he got the cash from, he said he normally got it from Diddy Security. So then we see text messages between Jonathan and Fahim. Again, Fahim is one of Diddy's security guards, from February 15th of 2024. So just last year, where Jonathan says, hi, Fa, just had Dontre pull out $1,200. $700 went to Guido. I'm about to go to the store and buy food with the remaining $500. Then we see receipts that were sent to Fahim, I guess, for reimbursement of this money, or just to prove that he actually purchased what he said he was going to be purchasing with that money that was given to him. And then Jonathan, in another text message to Fahim, says, hi, can you pull $2,100 for a guy coming tonight, plus a little more than $1,500 in cash? And so then we just kind of see more text exhibits too, just as far as him procuring cash that even involved kind of hotel nights. So then we see text messages from Jonathan to Fahim, and he's kind of in a group chat where he's saying, Fa, he's asking you to bring cash. Is it at the house? Let me know. And then Fahim responds, Robin never gave us the cash. And then Jonathan said, hi, Fa, putting PD on this text with us. Need $3,500 for guests. Fahim responds, copy. And then Jonathan says, can you leave it in an envelope? And then he ended up testifying he doesn't know exactly what had happened to that money that was in the envelope. And so we saw kind of a great deal of text messages that show just kind of how the kind of chain of events would occur whenever Jonathan needed money to give to either Diddy for to purchase drugs, or it would either be given to them for hotel nights or king nights, or to the guests, because when he's talking about guests, he's talking about the women that were in these hotel nights / king nights over either in hotels or at places like Diddy's residence or Jane's home too.
By the way, what was this about that he had some sort of FaceTime call with Sean Combs?
Yeah, so it related back to what had happened on June 18th and 19th of 2024, and we know that to be the incident involving Jane and just the physical assault that she had testified to when she was testifying. So as you may recall, when Jane was testifying, she said that Jonathan was called during this particular night, and so Jonathan kind of gave his answer as to what his role was on that night, where he said that he brought Diddy over to Jane's house initially, and that a few hours later he got a FaceTime call from Diddy, and as far as Diddy's demeanor was, Diddy was angry and seemed annoyed on this particular FaceTime call. So then the prosecution was like, okay, well, did you see Jane? Did you see her face? What was kind of her reaction to what was going on? And Jonathan said that Jane was turned away from the camera. And so Diddy had FaceTime Jonathan to confirm whether or not another woman was on this trip. Because if you remember from Jane's testimony, kind of the start of their argument was whether or not another woman that Jane was kind of jealous of was on this family trip with Diddy just days prior to him coming over to her house. And so Jonathan said that it seemed like Diddy and Jane were arguing, and that Jonathan told Diddy that there wasn't another woman on the trip. And so he also said that then the FaceTime call ended, but then Jonathan told Christina Courtroom and Fahim that Diddy and the guests were arguing. And so we saw text exhibits from June 18th of 2024 when this incident happened, where Christina Courtroom is saying, heads up, PD going to guest house tonight. And then that following kind of early in those morning hours on June 19th, Jonathan says, me and PD en route to location, heads up, him and guests are fighting. I'm about to go pick him up. Just the normal, her being jealous of other women and yelling at him. And so that's where another message from Jonathan, where he says, just heard from him being PD or Diddy. He said he's not going to, he said not to come at all. Everything's all good. And then later we see a message where Christina Courtroom is saying, hi, can someone go pick up PD ASAP? Jonathan liked that message, and then later brought Diddy back home.
Why did he stop working?
That still ain't enough to me.
I just think they're trying to make
He's
it seem
just
like
getting ready for a party, having people pick up stuff,
Right.
go get stuff, get him some drugs, get him some liquor.
Yeah, I don't
Give him
understand.
some Adderall.
Get him
Right.
some, yep, but that's
And
look,
everything.
yep, and he's having a buffet of drugs for his party guests.
And food. They got food too.
And
So
I'm sure a lot of other people that came to his parties partook in them drugs.
everybody's on coke. Is that, can you say that?
So,
I listened to this other person. He calls it powdered donuts. So everybody's on
oh
powdered
Lord.
donuts. Because I
Yeah,
don't
so
think
I
you can
don't
say
know.
that.
So
I
they got to come out with some more like hardcore testimony with it about this stuff.
Yeah, I just think that he's paying his assistants and stuff to get parties and stuff ready for him, and those parties entail a lot of drugs. I don't see how that's trafficking or racketeering, honestly.
Hmm. And then you got an ex-girlfriend sitting up there talking about they freak offs, but then you plan surprise freak offs because you don't want him to go with any of his other female friends. So you
Right.
coerce him saying, I'm gonna do this for you. I'm surprising you with a freak off. That's just,
So
I don't know.
shouldn't she get prosecuted as well? Because you setting this stuff up too. You was hiring people to come in. You was planning
But
it.
see, no, she was planning her own freak offs for him.
Oh wow. I mean
So
that's still,
yeah, so she would hire an escort or a male escort or whatever so he can watch.
yeah, she should
So
get
she
prosecuted
would
too.
use that so he wouldn't go off and be with other women to
That's
make him
crazy.
stay close to her.
I wouldn't want him close to me. I'd be happy that he was with somebody else and I still was
That's
kind of
why I
benefiting.
said, yep. That's why I said it's gonna be interesting when he goes to the jury.
We got 15 seconds.
So yeah.
Chances
Make sure
passed
y'all
out.
like, comment, share, and subscribe. One family.